Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. So today we're going to be going over part 2 in this 7-part series of the fundamentals of blacksmithing. Part 2 is going to consist of cutting off or splitting and a couple different methods that you can achieve this. Thank you all for watching. The main two types of cutting off that there's done in blacksmithing is cold cutting and then hot cutting or splitting. Both these methods can be done very effectively if you have the right tool. The principal difference in the two tools here that I'm about to take and use and demonstrate is one has a 30-degree pitch, as where the other one has a 60-degree pitch. Now, the narrower of the two is used for cutting material hot, because you need less material behind the edge to support a good cutting edge. So this way it can pretty much split the material very quickly and rapidly. However, to cut something off cold, you need a lot of mass behind your cutting edge in order to part in the material and resist the tendency for that edge to roll over. So this is a cold chisel, and this is a hot chisel, or called a slitting chisel. Now, these two methods can be used the same. You can use a cold chisel to cut through hot stock, but you cannot use a hot chisel to cut through cold stock. Reason for being is, like I said, the edge will roll over on a hot chisel where it will not on a cold chisel. So, two different methods of taking and forging. Or two different methods of cutting off. Now, we are going to be focusing on splitting and then cutting off. Now, we've all seen this iconic item. It is called a Hardy tool. A Hardy tool is nothing more than a hot cut. They also make Hardy tools that are cold cuts. They're just glorified cold chisels in the Hardy hole. So this way you can work a piece of material off cold, and they are hardened and tempered for such a purpose. Most of the time, though, you will find what they call hot cuts. And hot cuts will have the same profile that a hot chisel does, a 60-degree angle. So, today we are going to be showing splitting, or cutting off with hand tools, as these are the most likely tools that you will be able to find and come across or make yourself first off in your blacksmithing journey. Hardy tools will come much later when you have the ability and the skills possessed to be able to move a lot larger stock. So, without further ado, let's get at it. Okay, for our first fundamental technique, I am going to go ahead and split this piece. Now, whenever you are chiseling something or splitting a piece, it is best to take and work back towards yourself. So this way you can see where you are going, not where you have just come from. This way you can keep the cut in the center of the material. When you're doing hot chiseling work, you always want to make sure that you remove the chisel for a brief period after each strike out of the cut. This will prevent the edge from overheating. Now you're going to say to yourself, some of the more experienced guys that may be watching this video is, man, you're going to leave a mark on your anvil. So at this point in time, I'm going to point out, if you're doing this on the surface or the face of your anvil, which most likely you will be doing, please ensure that you put a scrap plate of steel underneath your workpiece before you take and make those last few chisel cuts that actually part the pieces in two. If you do not do this, you leave mars and marks into your anvil surface that will show up later in your work. So, always make sure you have a scrap piece of material around, either a scrap piece of steel or a scrap piece of copper or something of that nature that can catch the edge of the chisel before it damages your anvil or your anvil damage your chisel. Okay, everyone, so now we're going to move on to cold chiseling or cold cutting a piece of material. As you can see in the hot cutting demonstration, using my hot cut chisel, we had to use a plate underneath it. Now, cold cutting is a little bit different, as cold cutting is usually used to take and cut off a piece of material. It is a little bit on the different side. Now, you can use a cold chisel to lay out a piece of material and put some lines in place for you to find later with the edge of the hot cut chisel, or you can use it to take and cut a piece of material off. Now, to cut a piece of material off, you measure off your length of where you want it to be, and then you pretty much just mark the line all the way across. Just like so. Now, consequently, the difference between a cold chisel and a hot chisel is we are not going to continue cutting all the way down to the anvil face. This is essentially to take and give our bar stock a shear point, or a place that we can bend it and break it at. So, what this is doing is the sharp or the dull edge of this chisel is creating a high stress area that's in a straight line. And what that's doing across that grain structure is it's compressing it and stressing it out. So this way, when we go to take and bend this, it will break and shear right at our line versus just bend back and forth without end. So that is essentially the basics of this technique for cold chiseling. Now, I suggest to take and go into it at least a third of the material depth. So if you have a piece of material that is 3/8 of an inch, you need to go in at least an 1/8 inch deep, if that makes sense. So now we've got our line clearly established. And now we will head over to the vise and I will show you how this works. Okay, everyone. So this, I gave it a little trial bend before I filmed this bit, and it went ahead and pretty much broke clean through wherever my cut line was, quite unexpectedly. I thought I'd give it just a little quick bend, but you can see essentially what's happened there. I established a shear line and it sheared right through. So that's cold chiseling in a nutshell. Anyways, this concludes video number 2 in our Fundamentals of Blacksmithing series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys are more experienced smith, feel free to comment with helpful information to the younger smiths or the beginner smiths in the comment section of some of the other different techniques that maybe I have not covered in this video demonstration. God bless you all, and we will catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.